Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Dan. I am super pumped to be here tonight, and I'm so grateful that you're here and that Dan has been putting this on. So I'm Dr. Dave with Utah State University, and way back when, I'll tell you a little bit about the Dr. Dave story. So I was at Auburn University, graduated with my PhD in family studies, went to the University of Missouri, where I taught for 9 years, and when I was a professor at Mizzou, about halfway through, I came home, and I was telling my wife, honey, it's so funny, they call me Dr. Dave. And our daughter Mallory, who was about 4 years old at the time, she just started to giggle. I said, Mallory, what's so funny? And she said, Dad, you're not a doctor. I said, actually, Mallory, I've been to 10 years of school, and I'm trying to convince this 4-year-old that I'm a doctor. And she says, Dad, you're not a doctor. You don't help anybody. I said, I'll help you to a room, young lady, right? Why would she say that? Why would she say that? Because in her mind, the doctor was scrubs and stethoscope, right? But I promise, I really do try to help people. And I think I'm going to share some research and some funny things tonight that will hopefully help you in your relationships and help you personally, individually in your relationships. Now, where's the couple that was married, 50 plus years? 51 years? Stand up. Let's give them a hand. It's amazing. I should just hand the mic over to you and you can come up here and tell us what all the secrets to a great marriage. But I think I met your cousins. Harold and Marge. Harold and Marge. Now, do you remember Harold and Marge? Yes. This is Harold and Marge. Harold and Marge, they lived up in Minnesota. In February, it gets crazy cold. So they decided, hey, let's go to St. George. Let's go to St. George, right? Because it's nice and warm here. So they decide to book a room at the Hilton. But it turns out that their flights got a little bit messed up. And Harold, he had to travel down on Friday. And Marge had to travel down on Saturday. So Harold, he gets in on Friday, checks into the Hilton, decides, I'm going to send my wife an email. So he types up this email. And without realizing, he forgets one letter on your email address. But he hits send. Meanwhile, in Houston, there is a widow, and she just came home from her husband's funeral. He was a pastor at their local church. And she decides to get on her email and check, expecting messages from family members and loved ones. But upon reading the first message, she screams. She passes out, hits the floor. Her son comes rushing into the room and looks at the screen. And it says in the subject line, I've arrived. Hello, honey, I know you're surprised to hear from me. They have computers here now and you're allowed to send emails to your loved ones. I've just arrived, been checked in. I see that everything has been prepared for your arrival tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you then. Hope your journey is as uneventful as mine was. P.S. It sure is freaking hot down here. Love you, honey, love you. Have you done that? Have you sent a text message or sent an email and you figure, oh man, and then it auto-corrects into something that you wish you could take back? Now, how important is it to look at life, to be together, to smile and to laugh? Those things are critically important. Is it? So, all right, the topic that we're talking about, marriage is about compromise. Would you agree? Yeah, it's about compromise, being able to see another perspective and to give in. So here's an example of that, right? My wife, she wanted a new dog, and I didn't. So we decided to compromise. This is our new dog, Max. This is how we do it, right? This is it. Sometimes compromise ends up that way, doesn't it? And we give in, and we adapt and adjust. So let me ask you, when you get your family pictures taken, and then you wait, and it comes back, and finally they're all edited, and they arrive in the mail, or they arrive in the computer or on a disk, and you load it up, and you look at your family picture. Be honest, who do you look for first? You look for yourself, isn't it? Yeah, when I got the pictures back, immediately I looked at myself. And then, oh yeah, there's my family right there. Yeah, but who do I look at first? It's myself. And as soon as self gets in the way of your marriage, it goes downhill. The moment you put yourself first above the other person, watch out. There will be trouble in your relationships. So what else? What else weakens marriages? The research on this is pretty clear. John Gottman, you've heard of him. A lot of his research has come out. Did you know this? That for men and women, it's a little bit different. For men, what weakens marriages? It is sex, yes. No, it's high levels of negativity. High levels of negativity from my spouse or partner. It comes in, I'm getting it, and the complaints, and the criticism, and the contempt, and Leave me alone. It's the high levels of negativity. It's very different for wives. On average, for women, for wives, it is low levels of positivity. So simply taking that home and thinking, is there something that I should change? Do I need to nag less? Or the men, is there something I needed to do to add positivity? More compliments. Do little random acts of kindness. Tell her how beautiful she looks. Doing those small and simple things in relationships strengthens that connection. But we all change over time, don't we? Right? Do we all change over time? We do. When you were first married, ladies, this is what you married, isn't it? This is what you married. But what happens the first time he gets a cold and he's sick? Then it's like, whoa, what happened to you, right? Raise your hand, ladies. How many of you love it when your husband is sick? How many of you love that? Just love, I have one in the whole room. Yes, it loves that, right? No. Hey, don't worry, right, guys? Our wedding day, she looked like this, didn't she? Yeah, this is what you married? But then you wake up the next morning and you're like, whoa, what'd you do to my wife, right? What happened here? We change. Things change over time. We all change, and we can't expect that how we look and our behavior and personalities, all of that is going to change. So we need to learn to adapt and change with it over time. I love this quote by Theodore Roosevelt. He said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." As soon as you start looking at other relationships and start comparing your worst to others' best, then your joy starts to seep away in your relationships. So stop comparing. Forget about the person you thought you married and get to work on the person that you did marry. Get to work on that relationship. So positivity pyramid. I love this area. How many of you have children? How many of you are glad that your children are not here tonight? Yes, that's right. Yes, enjoy this, right? So much time we spend in our parenting on the correction, up at the top. In fact, most of the parenting books are written about what to do when things go wrong and what did I do, Dr. Dave? My teenager, she's sneaking out or has social media and my toddler's hitting and pulling. Whoa, so much time is spent here. Underneath that, regardless of the type of correction, will always depend on your prior teaching. We do a better job of teaching and it'll spill over and we'll do less correction. Underneath that is the parent-child relationship. And underneath that is what we're here about tonight. And it's this marriage relationship. But underneath that is what I want to talk about. Often, we'll talk about this area, which is good, which is important, which we'll talk about tonight. But I'm a true believer that happy, flourishing marriages consist of happy, flourishing people, individuals. That's what it is. That's the concept. So I'm going to be sharing some happy hacks. And there's a bookmark, should be in your bags as well, that have these happy hacks in there. First off, happiness. Where does it come from? About half of our happiness is inherited. So you can thank or curse, right? Your parents for the level of happiness. We have this set point in our happiness. A lot of mental health is actually inherited. So about half of that. So what about the other half? About 10% of the rest of that 50% is due to our circumstances. It's how much money you have and what kind of car you drive and all that stuff that we think makes us happy. Notice marriage is up there. Isn't that interesting? Marriage is up there. Sometimes we think that marriage will make us happy, but it only accounts for about 10% of our happiness. The principle here is that we get used to things very easily. The brain craves newness. It craves novelty. And we get used to things, right, ladies? You buy a new purse, and within 72 hours, the newness, that dopamine is, or the pair of shoes, or whatever it is that you really love, we call it the honeymoon effect. You're up here, and then even we get used to each other. The newness wears off in our relationships. What about the 40%? This is what excites me. The 40% is our thoughts and our actions and our attitudes, the behaviors, the things that we get to choose to do. So that's what I'd like to focus on for a few minutes tonight. Is this intentional activity. This is what we get to control. So everyone, go like this. This is called a finger curl study. Now you're going to participate in this study. There were three groups in this finger curl study. Group one, they come into the lab and they pull the lever. In this lever, this university, it measures their finger strength. So group one, You need to do finger curls for 15 minutes a day for 5 days a week for 12 weeks. So we won't do it that long. But group one, I want you to sit there and do it. Until I tell you to stop, I want you to just do this over and over vigorously. Do it like you mean it. Yes. Okay. You look kind of weird. But yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Group two, they come in and they pull the lever, and then they're instructed, your group two, you're right here, to just visualize finger curls. So they actually go into another room, and the professor says, okay, now hold out your hand, but now don't really curl that, but visualize. So now group two, you got to visualize it, okay? It's harder than you think. But put your hand maybe in your lap and just stare at your finger and visualize it going back and forth, back. Yeah, you guys are weird. Okay, group three, do nothing. You guys are good. You're doing great at that. Yes. So they do nothing. They come in, they pull the lever. You get group one. Okay, good. Faster. Okay, good. Group one, they come in, they pull the lever, and then they're sent home. 12 weeks later, everybody comes back in to pull the lever to measure their finger strength. 12 weeks later, what happens? Group one. All right, group one, you can stop. 53% increase in finger strength. Can you imagine that? Walking around, look at these sausages, man. Check these out. You're like, dude, what happened to your finger? Oh, it was finger curls, man. It was finger curls. Yeah, don't volunteer for those studies. Don't do that. We're going to come back to group two. Group three, what have you guys been doing? Nothing. Good. You're getting really good at this. They come in, they pull the lever. There's no increase in finger strength. No surprise there. Group two, you still visualizing? You're visualizing other things probably, but finger curls, visualizing finger curls. They come in, they pull the lever, 35% increase in finger strength. What? What does that mean? It means you can forget your gym pass and all you have to do is visualize your exercise the rest of your life. Isn't that awesome? I'm going to quit my job at Utah State. I'm going to travel the country in seminars with no equipment, open up these gyms and just come on in for an hour. We're going to get buff, right? Now, what does it mean? It means thinking about exercise activates the same area of the brain as real exercise. Now, some of you are thinking, yeah, Dr. Dave, that's hokey. I'll bet some of those in group two were doing a little bit of this action on the side. So they did another study. This time they did it with men's biceps, and they put their biceps in a cast so they couldn't cheat. It was a curling study with weights. Now, what do you think happened? First, these guys, they lost their man card is what happened, right? What happened to your arm? Oh, nothing. I'm just in a study, right? Yeah, don't do it. Don't do that. Don't volunteer for that. Now, it wasn't 35%. It was 14.5% increase in their strength. What typically happens when you put an arm or a leg in a cast? Atrophy. Yeah, you lose that muscle. So a 14.5% increase from thinking about it. So that sets the stage for what we're going to be talking about, because thinking about things is one of the first things that sets everything else in motion. Your brain can't tell the difference between the real and the actual when you're thinking about it. Thinking about exercise activates the same area of the brain as real exercise. So the human brain is presented with about 11 million pieces of information every second, but you can only focus on 40 bits, right? For example, I can guarantee nobody in this room right now is thinking about their left big toe. Now you are because I just said it, but we call it attention. And your attention can only be at one place at one time, that 40 bits. But what it means is that we are wired to focus on threats and the negative things in our marriages and in our lives and our surroundings. We're actually wired to focus on the negative. And I can prove it. When your child comes home with a report card and they have 5 A's and a C minus, where does your brain go immediately? Immediately goes right to the C minus. You're hanging up your Christmas lights, and you drive by that night, and there's one bulb that's burned out. Where does your attention go? It goes right to that bulb that's burned out. We are wired to focus on the negative. In fact, we're born into this life with 5 times as many neurons, brain cells, that are wired for negativity and threat compared to 1 for every one that is wired for opportunity and positivity. So already you're at a disadvantage in your relationships because you're wired to focus on the negative and to be nitpicky and to notice the negative instead of the positive. So already it's a change in mindset. So here's the trade-off is I can think about the negatives, and that automatically means that I can't see the positives because my 40 bits are already be taken up. Or I can change my mindset and choose to think about and remember and talk about all the great things about my spouse in front of other people, to send them texts frequently about all the things, the wonderful things that you love about them, instead of the negative, the things that we wish would change. And of course, there's things that need to change, but we focus on the good and the positive that's going on in our lives. Now, a lot of us, especially the mental health, we get stuck in this way of thinking. Now, all of our emotions we experience are experienced in the present. That seems obvious, right, Dr. Dave? But they often will have an anchor either in the past or the future. Think about this. With the past emotions, we're experiencing them in the present, but that they're anchored in the past. All this stuff that we're thinking about, anger, sadness, grief, is all about things that have already happened. And our 40 bits are thinking about the past. What about the future? Anxiety, stress. We're experiencing it now, but it's all about the future that has not occurred yet. And if our 40 bits are focused on either the past or the future, we can't be focusing and thinking about the good stuff that's happening now. Now look at that. Most of all positive emotions are experienced in the present. There's a few in the past and a few in the future. So learn to live and appreciate, to notice, to talk about the good that's happening right now. Instead of worrying so much about what's going to happen or being angry about what's going on in the past, learn to experience the happiness right now in your relationship, in your marriage, with your children, whatever stage that is learning to enjoy your day. That's what the happiest people in the world have learned. Learning to enjoy their day, the right now that's happening right now. So here's some happy hacks. Why 21 days? That's how long it takes to build a habit. I decided to look a little bit deeper, and actually, most of the cells in the human body are regenerating about every 21 days. Tongue are some of the fastest, femur some of the slowest. So when you start doing a habit, 21 days, because that's how long it takes for those cells to get into your cellular structure. It becomes part of you. Isn't that cool? So that's why it's 21 days. So let's jump into some of these. One of my favorites is gratitude. Gratitude. The studies on gratitude have exploded. It affects everything from suicidal thoughts to aches and pains. Simply being grateful for what we have. One of my favorite apps in this area is, I love the 5-Minute Journal. Anyone have the 5-Minute Journal app? Love, love, love. Download that app. That's how I keep my journal. And it starts with 3 things that I'm grateful for in the morning. Then I get to take a picture that I want to remember. And so I love pictures because I'm visual and I can see. And then at the end of the day, at 9 o'clock, what amazing things happened that day. So it's learning to be grateful and express that gratitude. In fact, one of my favorite TED Talks by David Steindl-Rast, it's about gratitude. And he says this, he says, in daily life, we must see that it is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratefulness that makes us happy. And then he says, gratefulness is the key to a happy life that we hold in our hands. Because if we are not grateful, then no matter how much we have, we will not be happy. Because we will always want to have something else or something more. A professor, he once said it this way. He said, you'll never get enough of what you don't need because what you don't need will never satisfy you. If you're always wanting my spouse to do this or to do that, instead of being grateful in your life right now for what you have, just be still and be grateful for what we have. I love that. Gratefulness leads to happiness, not the other way around. Slowing down and being grateful and then expressing that gratitude. Write it down. Send somebody a note. Call up a former teacher and express gratitude in your relationships. Express gratitude for what I call invisible work. Invisible work is that work that you hardly notice until it's not done, right? Until it's not done, what am I talking about? It's laundry and dishes, and as soon as it's not done, then I notice it. But when it's done, I forget to even thank my wife because I just expect it. And then I become entitled, and I don't notice those things. Then I get used to it. So learning to express gratitude for the little things that you appreciate in your children, especially in your relationships. This is a key that we hold in our hands. Smiling, everybody smile. Okay, that was fake. That was totally fake. Your real smile, that's your real smile. Your real smile releases dopamine, and it's contagious. Others see that and they want to smile because we have mirror neurons inside of our brains. And when we see others smiling, we smile. The 10-5 way is simply this. When you're within 10 feet of somebody, you smile. When you're within 5 feet, you say hello. All right, how you doing, right? You guys friends, fans, anyone? No? So what happens? The power of smiling. Raise your hand in this room, raise it high if you smile at least 20 times per day. Be honest, raise them high. Oh, wow, it's a lot of happy people in here. Yes, a lot of happy people in there. Research shows that only about 1/3 of adults actually smile at least 20 times per day. 14% smile less than 5 times per day. Isn't that sad? Smiling turns on all the learning centers in the brain. In fact, I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to watch your response. This is actually mirror neurons firing right now, right? Exactly. You smile because you see a picture and actually it reflects and you think, oh, that's so cute. Now, not all smiles are created equal. Have you ever noticed that, right? This doesn't quite produce the same type of reaction, does it? A little bit different, isn't it? Yeah, let's get rid of that one. That one's creepy. Children. So 1/3 of adults smile at least 20 times per day. Children, how many times do they smile? Up to 400 times per day. What's the number one crusher of kids' happiness? You are. That's right. It's you. You're the ones who's crushing their happiness. If it wasn't for parents, think how happy children would be, right? They could do anything that they wanted all the time. Yeah, children smile up to 400 times per day. This one didn't quite get the memo on the smiling picture. They're not always smiling, but smiling releases dopamine. As much dopamine is up to 2,000 bars of chocolate in one British study. Is that amazing? And you don't get all the calories. Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Exercise, one of our favorites, isn't it? Exercise. Now, what do we learn about exercise here tonight, though? It's all in your head, man. It's all in your head. No, real exercise is very, very good for you. Sleep, over 800 studies on sleep alone. So things are not going well with you. Check those little boxes first. Am I moving? Am I eating okay? Am I getting the right amount of sleep? Because those are critical. They will affect your happiness levels faster than about anything else out there, are these three. And we're familiar with this. We know this. But the research behind these happy hacks are huge. One of the first things I ask about and check for, tell me about your lifestyle. What are you doing? What about, how many woke up this morning like this? Yeah, where are our morning people? Yeah, let's escort them all out right now. Come get them, get out of here. Starting your day in a positive way. Research has shown that if you start your day with as little as 3 minutes of negative news, you're 26% more likely at the end of the day to rate your day as a bad day. So start your day in a positive way. Whether it's yoga or exercise, or you get up and you read, whatever it is, start your day in a positive, uplifting way, not to grab my phone and scroll through Facebook or Instagram for 30 minutes. No, that will sap your day. Start your day in a positive way. Discover and use your strengths. Here's your homework assignment. No, I'm being serious. Jot this down. VIA, it's free. And it's research-based. VIA, character strength. Yeah, you're going to take a picture of it. So wait. Okay, yeah, good. VIAcharacter.org. Fill that out. What it is Dr. Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology. He's came up with these character strengths. Now, these are not things like singing and dancing. These are things like the ability to love and be loved, and mercy and forgiveness, curiosity, humor, those types of character strengths. Find your 5 character strengths, print them out, and then talk about them with your sweetheart. What are his 5 character strengths? What are her 5 character strengths? I printed mine out, and I put them right underneath my computer, so I literally focus on my strengths every single day. When I'm at work, I see my character strengths, because we're wired, right, 5 times as many neurons to notice the negative. I'm well aware of my weaknesses. But if I focus on and use my strengths, that's where happiness comes from. What about this one? Finding flow. I love this one. Flow is that state where you immerse yourself in a task that kind of stretches you, that you almost lose track of time. Here are some examples, right? It could be reading. It could be piano. It could be at work. Or it could be with your children or cooking. It's that when you immerse yourself in a task that uses your strengths and you almost lose track of time. Athletes call it getting in the zone. They get in the zone and they're just in that state of flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, he's the one, he said, a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it, even at the great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it. And he says, the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times at the beach. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. I love that, those meaningful moments. And I've been on beach vacations, right, and gone, and I've been to Hawaii, and those are fun, they're relaxing times. But after a minute, your brain is craving to do something. Your brain is always at work. Even when you're asleep, it wants some stimulus. It wants to figure out, it wants to solve a problem and go through things. And it loves that. And our state, when we're in that state of flow, is really, really good for us. Good for us to be in. Oh, meditation, where's our meditators? Yes, yeah, there they are. This has been around for thousands of years, but research now is showing that the impacts of meditation can actually increase the thickness of the gray matter in your brain. And you want thick gray matter. That's the area of the brain that is focused on compassion and attention and kindness. So learning to slow down, mindfulness, being in the moment. Even tonight, just squeeze your sweetheart's hand and just be in the moment for a minute. Absorb that, stay in the moment instead of being all over the place. Why? Because our minds tend to wander, don't they? In fact, about 47% of the time when you're engaged in an activity, you're thinking about something other than what you're doing. Now, big test. Be honest with me, okay? How many of you, raise your hands, if during the time that I've been talking, you've been looking up here, but your mind has wandered to something else? Raise your hands. Yeah, the rest of you are liars. You're all liars. Get out of here. No, my wife says I shouldn't call people liars. You're not telling the truth, sweetie. Your minds are wandering all the time, and it ranges, doesn't it? It ranges from, ladies, this morning when you got up, you took a shower, and you're putting on your makeup, were you actually thinking like, oh yeah, this is looking good today right here, yeah. You weren't doing that. Your minds are wandering, weren't they? Commuting, driving to work. How many of you drive to work or you're driving home and you have no idea how you got there? You're like, whoa. It's like, oh my gosh, how did I end up here? Because your minds are wandering all of the time. Listening to music, working. How many of you are at work? I'm working. You're not working. Half the time you're thinking about something other than what you're doing. What about shopping? Oh yeah, you ever ended up with something in your cart? You're like, man, what happened there? Who got that? Taking care of your kids. Okay, be honest. How many of you in the past week have had your child come up to you and show you something and they're like, oh, look, Mom, look. You're like, oh my goodness, that's great, honey. You have no idea what they just said, right? Raise your hands, raise your hand. Our minds wander a lot, don't they? Reading, eating, exercising, talking. You're talking to somebody. Yeah, Oh, that's too bad. I have no idea what you just said. My mind's wandering. That last one, do not ask your sweetheart tonight if that one is true or not, right? I asked my wife, I was like, seriously? She's like, oh, what, honey? I wasn't listening to me. Oh my goodness. This is one of my favorites, random acts of kindness. This will improve your marriage, relationship, and your happiness faster than almost anything out there. In fact, Martin Seligman, he said this, doing a kind act produces the single most reliable momentary increase in well-being of any exercise that they've ever tested. Isn't that amazing? Simply turning outward and thinking about and doing something for someone else increases that happiness. I love that. For example, right? Oh, how many of you, right? Well, wife gets sick and this is what happens. But what happens the day you get sick? Oh man, all of a sudden I don't feel very good, honey. Yeah, all of a sudden I need some soup too, right? But random acts of kindness, doing these small little things for each other and for others, turning outward, that will increase the happiness. Do you remember back there, guys? Do you remember that slide about one of the strongest predictors of a woman's unhappiness is lack of positivity? The lack of the good things. Increase that. Increase that with random acts of kindness. Dropping grudges, letting things go. I know, I get it. Back in grade school, even high school, maybe college, we would do the silent treatment. The silent treatment will dissolve marriages. Dissolves marriages when they have that silent, I don't say anything. Now, do the children pick up on that? Oh, immediately, right? They're eating their cereal and you're like, right? It's totally silent. They get it. They can catch up on, they catch on to those things. Drop grudges. Be quick to forgive. Yeah, we all mess up, right? Be quick to forgive. That's one of these secrets to this happy marriages. I love this quote by Nelson Mandela. He said, as I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. That will eat your soul almost as fast as anything. You've heard that analogy. It's like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. So when your husband reaches out to hold your hand and you pull it away, or no, I'm still mad at you. Be careful. Be careful with the grudges and the meanness and the bitterness. And yes, maybe he deserved it or she deserved it or whatever, but be quick to forgive because we all make mistakes. We all fall short, don't we? What about this? And what are some predictors of staying alive? We just talked about it. Dan talked about some of this. There's a study that was done, a meta-analysis study that looked at these factors. Here are several factors. Clean air, not a very strong predictor, unless you're in Cache Valley, right? And then with the inversion, then it's a big predictor. Hypertension treatment, make sure you're getting that, right? What about lean versus overweight? This one was surprising to me. Not as strong a predictor as many other things. Exercise, again, what do we learn about exercise here tonight? All in your head, that's right. Recent studies have actually shown that this should be further down this way. Cardiac rehab, flu vaccine. How many of you got your flu shots? Getting flu season? Yeah, the rest of you may not be here next year. You just got to go get your flu shot. This is really important. It's more important, a stronger predictor than being lean versus overweight. I couldn't believe this. What about quitting drinking, quitting smoking? All right, the top two, and you should know this by now, are what? Close relationships. What's number one? The number one predictor of how long and how well you're going to live. It's quitting Fortnite is actually the number one predictor of how long you're going to live. No, all right, let's get rid of that one. It's actually, yeah, you're taking a picture showing your son, right? You're going to show your kids, be like, look at that, I went to this. You got to quit, son. You're going to die, man. I should put that one back up, right? Yeah, hurry, get the picture and say, look, sweetheart, this is killing you. No, it's actually social integration. It's this. It's who you interact with. These are really close. Close relationships is more family relationships. Social integration happens to be those people that you spend the other 8 hours or at work or on Sundays, at the post office, at the grocery store. It's these types of relationships that will keep us happy and healthy. In fact, the quality of your close connections is the strongest predictor of how long and how well you're going to live, as we talked about earlier tonight. So this is that same study. Dan, you were talking about this study. Look this one up, this great TED Talk. What makes for a good life? This is the one that Dan was referring to. And he says this, the clearest message that we get from this 75-year study is this: good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. People who are more socially connected to family, to friends, to community are happier, they're physically healthier, and they live longer than people who are less well connected. And good relationships don't just protect our bodies, they protect our brains as well. These quality of this happy relationships that we have here. So there's three types of happiness that we've talked a little bit about. One is called the pleasant life. Martin Seligman, he calls this the pleasant life. These are the pleasures, the things that we get, we go out to dessert, we have a fun time. That's what this pleasant life is about. The second one is the good life. This is about the relationships. This is about flow, using your strengths, some of the things we just talked about. And the third is the meaningful life. The meaningful life is not about you. The meaningful life is about turning outward and finding a cause, doing these little things, finding a bigger mission for who I am, to serving a higher cause, being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And when these three are in alignment, the good life, the pleasant life, and the meaningful life, that comes together. These are the happiest people in the world, Martin Seligman has found. They have this balance of the good things. They are able to balance those things in their lives. Here are some people ask me, Dave, what books do you recommend? In this area of happiness and positivity and gratitude, these are some of Dave's faves, I call them. Some of my favorite books in this area are Gratitude, right? Authentic Happiness, Positivity by Barbara Fredrickson, The How of Happiness. These are the great ones. If you're looking for a book on depression, this is my all-time favorite. It's by Alex Korb. It's called The Upward Spiral. The Upward Spiral. I had my secretary order me 5 more copies because I give them away. I give them away to couples, or I give them away to students who are struggling. It's written by a neuroscientist, but don't let that scare you. He writes in a very humorous, easy to understand way. And over 100 of these simple little hacks that increase norepinephrine and serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin, all these chemicals, these neurotransmitters that we've been talking about. That's what it is. Blinkist. Anybody a fan of Blinkist or have Blinkist? Oh, I love it. I've listened to 197 books on Blinkist. What it does, it takes the best books and it condenses them down to the 15-minute version of the book. That's my kind of book. Yeah, I listen to it. I love that. The 15-minute version of the book. And then if I really like it, then I order the real thing. Here are some, and this is not an exhaustive list, this is just a handful of maybe Dave's faves of some apps, some podcasts, some websites that I find to be very helpful. So you see the 5-minute journal right there. You Live Happy Now. I love this one. So this one is they interview some of the top happiness and positive psychologists in the world and have that on that podcast. So you get on your imaginary elliptical, right? Pretend like I'm exercising and listen to these podcasts and you'll just lose weight, guaranteed, or your money back, right? So these are some, so feel free to check some of these out. All right, as I wrap up tonight, let me share some advice from our 8-year-old daughter. So back in the day, parents, how many of you remember when you couldn't get your children to bed fast enough? Some of you experiencing that right now. You're like, okay, I'm done after dinner. Okay, tubby time, brush your teeth, don't come out. And they keep coming out and you start bargaining with them, right? And they're like, $20 bill for anyone who stays in their beds. Please, just stay in your bed. Then you threaten them. I threatened our children. I would sell you on eBay. If you keep coming out, I'm going to sell you on eBay. And then I go back to my room, and then, of course, I hear it. These footsteps coming down the hall, and I'm here, I'm waiting for this. I'm in my bedroom, and then I hear a child's hand on my door, and that's when I bark, get back to your room, and I all the way back down the hall. I'm so frustrated. I go and I open up the door, and there's a note. There's a note from our 8-year-old daughter. And this is a picture of the actual note. And she says this, thanks a lot. I know it can be hard being a mom or dad, but you've got to stick with it. I think, oh my gosh. It's totally called me out, totally called me out. And then do you see what it says on the side? It says, look on back. So I flip the note over and it says, don't worry, we still love you. And I think, oh my goodness. It's hard. Being a parent in these relationships, this is hard work, but we got to stick with it. So my challenge, my invitation is to take one of these happy hacks. They're on the bookmarks that you have. Take one and try it. Try it for 3 days. Try it for 7 days. Try it for 21 days. To do these little things, the simple things, smiling more often, expressing gratitude, random acts of kindness, be quick to forgive. All of these things will help you to become a happier you. When you're happier to be around, then it's much more likely to strengthen that relationship and that affection and that connection. So take one of these, apply it in your life, because we never know how long we have with each other. Thank you.
Dr. Dave.